Everybody, good morning. And we are thankful that we've got a beautiful Saturday morning here in Mississippi. I'm down here at my office, quiet this morning. So figure I could be here and not be distracted. But we appreciate all of you taking the time to get on with us this morning. As we kick off, this is going to be a real quick introduction, but I thank Tyler Graham for helping us with IT this morning. And of course, Steve Barger, having him as our guest speaker for his second session with us. We talked about last time when Steve came to our company, we worked together for years. He was brought in with Joe Plumeri. Joe was used to head up Smith Barney Investment Company, has been up in that business for generations now. But he bought Steve Barger in as one of the guys to help from a training perspective. And really, Steve helped to bring us the financial needs analysis, which is still part of what we do today. And being able to tell people, hey, look, here's where you are right now. Where do you want to go financially? And then we could develop those incremental steps to help them get there. The whole thing about the value gap, the gap between what a client can do for themselves and the difference in what you can do for a client gives you more value. And so anyway, just helped us really take our game up, Steve. And so we also became friends, and through the relationships. Since then he's got the Barger Consulting and has gone on to do different things with different companies, but organizations, and had some health challenges. He talked about the last time, had some throat cancer, and but is able to still communicate, and he will probably review that again. I know we've got probably some people on that weren't on last time, but anyway, really what I see is Steve has really distilled down his message and his experience in the business to really his best work ever. And that's the way I see this. And the idea of being genuinely concerned for someone else, another human being, and having a goal to really serve them in an authentic way. So many times we go in and we just talk at people, and we don't really, we're just throwing information at people. And, sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, because we're just giving information. But Steve's message of really being curious about their life and asking questions to find out the things that they value. So, Steve, I am going to turn this over to you. We appreciate you and Marilyn, his wife. Again, we became friends over the years, and it's so great to be back in touch with him. So this is session 2 with really what I feel one of the best trainers in the business. And so I know you're going to be going 1 hour. The other thing that we've got is hopefully everybody, we emailed to all the RVPs the workbook that Steve is going to be going over and helping us develop that. So anyway, Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you. And then just for everybody else who's jumping on, again, Steve does like to see your smiling face. So if you are, if it's convenient for you, turn on your camera. At the end, I've got some important info at the end, just going to take a few minutes, but about something that's going to be happening next week. But I think you'll want to stick around for that too. So we'll, after the 1 hour, then I'll wrap up with that. And then, so Steve, we appreciate you, man. You take it away.
Well, good morning, everyone. Hey, David, can you unmute Ed Randall?
Okay, okay, let me see, let me look here.
I haven't seen him in such a long time. I just wanted.
I heard yesterday that Ed Randall was going to, or some of his folks were going to be on here. And
I
so,
see that. Yeah, there he is.
hang
Yeah,
on.
now I think we got it. Hello, Steve. How are you, my friend?
Wow. You look younger than before.
Yeah, 85 last week, pal. So, but we're still kicking. And thanks to you, a lot of things were happening good that actually, like David said, reaches back to a long time ago. But we had some wonderful times together and shared a lot of good ideas. I'm glad to see you kicking.
Hey, and Ed Randall, guys, you know, those of you who, of course, I think everybody knows Ed Randall, but just again, one of the pioneers. He's been around like me for decades and decades, but man, we're just so honored to just get to know Red, just Ed, as far as what he's built and everything that he's done for our company over all the history. So thanks, Ed.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. We've been friends a long time. I remember coming over to your house, so to speak, and speaking with you guys back when we were all struggling to get this thing going, and a lot of wonderful memories with the Landrum family. Steve, I'm ducking in. Probably will take off here in a little bit, but I wanted to just let you know how much I appreciate you. A lot of wonderful memories, and I hope your health continues to heal, and we'll keep this thing going for another decade or so. Okay.
Oh, are you still in Birmingham?
Oh yeah, still in Birmingham, and I understand you live in Birmingham.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't even know that till last week. So
we're gonna we'll get
okay,
together.
we'll have to get together, pal. Okay, and do
Yes,
it
sir.
live. All right, great.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
y'all for letting me come in. We do, David. We do have some. Looking through the gallery, we've got a number of people on. Really appreciate you opening it up for us to be able to join you. Well, we always like to be close to the Landrum family. Okay, so you guys take care.
Right.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk later. And well, good morning, everyone. If you don't mind, David, I've been kind of taken back by what happened down in Miami. And I just thought we could maybe take a couple seconds of silence and each of us say maybe a prayer for the people who are caught up in their lives or caught up in that building collapse in Miami. But it's such a tragedy, and I feel so bad about that. So if you don't mind, I think if you would indulge me, I think 30 seconds of each of us with a quiet thought about them makes sense.
Sounds good. Yep.
And I thank you so much. You know, okay. I asked everyone if they printed out the workbook. So would you kind of put one of these up if you printed out the workbook that was sent to you on Friday? Does everybody have a copy of that? Can everybody see the screen that has the learning objectives on it? Give me a heads up. Nod your head or say yes. Can you see it, David?
I've got you as full screen. No, we don't have, you're showing the full screen right now. It may just be my view, but are you going to share your screen? If you share, okay.
Oh, there.
Yeah, you're sharing it now. Okay, well, now we see it.
Very good. All right, so Here are some things today that I want us to focus on. And there's several things here, but it's going to be rapid fire. And you were each sent a workbook. I hope you have it printed out because eventually I'm going to want you to use that and use it with your team, use it with your leader. It's a good thing to share the information. And our learning objectives for today are listed on this slide. I'm going to remind you that there's 2 critical business behaviors for every single business model that ever existed on the planet. And we're going to talk about those 2 behaviors. We're going to talk about business objectives for your own personal growth. It gives you perpetual growth always. We're going to learn about the single most important daily activity that you can possibly have. We're going to learn how to accomplish any single goal, guaranteed solution to solving any goal that you have. We're going to review curiosity, what we covered last time, which was really, really important. We're going to learn how to influence somebody's behavior. Now, here's what's interesting about our challenges every single day. We are in the midst of trying to get someone to make a change in their life. And we know that change is a good change if they're all in, if they figure it out. But we're taking them from a comfort zone, out of that comfort zone, whether they become a recruit or they become a financial client of ours, either way. So we're going to cover how you actually influence someone's behavior, what things you have to do to get them to change behavior. We're going to identify conversations that you must have with prospects or clients. We're going to learn the purpose of various types of questions. And I want you to start to build your own arsenal of questions. I want you to be a student of the questioning process. If you remember last time, we suggested that the curiosity quotient should be 80% of you asking questions and listening, and 20% of you talking. That's how you actually demonstrate genuine concern about another human being. And then we're going to start developing some stories to divulge your value. So here's our first run. Every single business that ever existed on the planet basically has 2 business behaviors that are a must, that must be focused on around the clock. Every single day, you must build your business based on these 2 fundamental principles. What problems are we capable of solving? And how do I make my clients feel better about themselves and their lives? It makes no difference what the business is. You could be selling automobiles. You could be running a clothing store. You could be doing everything that we're doing in financial services, selling homes. It doesn't make any difference. These 2 fundamentals are the drivers. And I want you to convert the way you think about your business into fulfilling these 2 objectives. these two behaviors. So I would ask you, one, to make a list of all the problems that you solve, because this is the essence of the business. Each of you make to have your own list so you know exactly the problems that you solve. And I started your list here. I want you to add to it. I want you to make a slide about it. I want you to incorporate it into any print materials. That is actually what you do every single day, is solve problems. And they tend to be lifestyle problems. You create more comfortable lifestyles. You help educate children. You help people get into a nicer home, more enjoyable vacations, possibly charitable giving, financial independence, managing their debt. You give them a chance to live their life by choice and not by chance. Make a list that you actually solve the problems. And here's actually how you make them feel better about themselves. And this is really, really important. I'll give you an example. If you buy a piece of clothing, you're buying a piece of clothing to solve a problem of not being naked. You have to have clothes. The style and the color is what makes you feel good. The same thing is true about an automobile. You buy an automobile to get from point A to point B. The color, the style, the make, those are things that make you feel good about your choice and feel good about yourself. The same thing is true about virtually every business. I want you to think of your business in the same perspective. What problems do you solve? And what activities and actions and deeds do you go through every day to make whoever is in your just entered your life, how do you make them feel good about their lives? Those are the two fundamental behaviors that we must master. There's only two business objectives that we actually have. And as Ed knows, as David knows, as some of you on this call who have been with me in the past know, I like to boil everything down to very simple terms. Business objectives are as simple as getting and keeping clients. And we all focus on the getting part. New people coming to meetings and meeting new people every day. I suggested in our last meeting, and I don't know if any of you have started this practice, try and meet 3 new people every day. I don't care where you do it. Grocery store, working out at the gym, church. Try to meet 3 new people every day. Engage them in conversation about their life. Because we want to get more people into our lives. But here's the caveat, and here's a warning across everybody's bow. We do not have keeping strategies. We have getting strategies. But we've got a lot of people that have fallen off in the past where we haven't reconnected, or we have neglected them and they have fallen away from our message. So I want you to think about it. Keeping strategies. What do you do to actually keep people involved? Very important. Here is the single most important activity in any sales organization worldwide. the single most important thing you can do is to get set an appointment. It's one of the hardest things to do, but it's 90% of you getting something accomplished. If you set the appointment and actually meet with somebody, that's a pretty good day. If you do it with a couple, 3 people, it's a great day. Because everybody on this call knows they have the wherewithal and the tools to help change somebody's life for the better. That's why I suggested last week that you meet 3 new people every day. Make it a daily goal. And if you can, those people, if you can set an appointment to have a conversation, to dig deeper, to be more curious, to demonstrate your genuine concern about their well-being, that is an important, critical activity. Now, I promised you a problem-solving equation that never fails. This is it. I promise you that if you go through these steps, you will find success at whatever your goal or objective is. So in the middle of this triangle is whatever you're trying to accomplish. I'll give you a perfect example. I need to lose. I'm in the process of losing 15 pounds. So here's how this works. Up here on top, this is where curiosity plays a critical role. If I'm curious enough about my problem, I mean really curious, to where I get very focused on it, I promise you there is a methodology, a system, a procedure that exists out there to lose 15 pounds. It does exist. They're already invented. I don't have to invent one. There is a system. The only thing missing for that to occur is my discipline in the lower right-hand corner. Hey, Ed, nod your head if you can see that slide. Okay. Very good. So, whatever the goal and objective is, put that in the center of this equation. And then you have to ask yourself, how curious are you to discover a resource through Primerica to have a systematic way of solving this problem? And then what discipline is actually put in place? I'll give you a really good internal example. Let's take 401k participation by your financial clients and put it at the center. If you're really curious about solving this problem, you will build a system or find a system to make certain that there is the ability for them to save money. Now, the issue will become, does your client have enough discipline to make the contribution and to take your advice? But it's also your responsibility to make certain they do that. So that's part of the value that you bring to the table. So that when you have conversations with them, there's always a question that's stuck in there because you're sincerely curious about them. You're always asking at the right time, did you make your contribution this year? Did you meet your employer's match? That's the discipline that goes on. That's how you solve the part of the retirement problem. I'll give you the scary statistic one more time that you can use with all of your clients. Of all of the plan participants in 401ks across the United States who are part of a plan where the employer makes some type of match, of those 150 million participants where there is a match involved, only 28% actually fully match the employer's contribution. 28%. That means 72% of your clients are leaving money on the table. They're rejecting a 100% annual return on their investment. Those words, that passion, that much curiosity, that much genuine concern must be echoed by you in order to make certain they live their life by choice and not by chance, and retire with grace and dignity. That's an example of how this works. And just as a review from our last week, when we talked about curiosity, the quality of the relationships that we create, and the effectiveness of the decisions that we make is directly correlated to the breadth and the depth of our curiosity. The more curious we become, the better the relationships become, and the better our decisions become, because we're asking more and more questions. This is that model we will review from last week. When we make great relationships through curiosity, and we make great decisions, and those intersect, that's where happiness and fulfillment and gratification and contentment come from. It's all driven by curiosity. That was last time's message. Be sincerely curious and demonstrate genuine concern. Here's the form, if you remember, that curiosity takes. It has to do with asking relevant questions, listening to learn, diagnosing existing problems, doing your research to find the right answers, examining a situation, exploring further conversations. How deep is your inquiry into the process? All of these words are words that are built around curiosity. So, where does this lead us? It helps us recognize we have to be able to let someone know what the problems that need to be solved. So how do we help someone recognize there's a problem to be solved? How do we help them appreciate there's an opportunity for them to feel, think, and act differently? Remember, they go through their day feeling and thinking and acting a certain way. But there is an opportunity to change that, to better their lives. So how do we actually make the prospect change? How do we make behavior actually change? And these are some things that I've not only learned in my 40 years in a business, but I also learned it when I was coaching high school basketball. This is the clue. This is the clue. Remember, how subtle he is. He gets ready to leave the room and he turns around and he comes back and he always says the same thing. Excuse me, sir, I have one more question. The magic is curiosity and concern. How sincerely curious, and how genuinely concerned are you about another human being? How deeply you take the questioning process. This is the model that I built for behavior change. I learned this from I used to teach a summer course at University of Colorado in Boulder. And I happened to meet a professor when I was out there. This is a psychological model that has been built years and years ago. And here's what it tells us about our own behavior. This is true about all of us. Me, you, everybody you know. At the center of each of us are core values and principles. It's right at the heart of who we are. And we're actually imprinted with those by the time we're 10 years old. We know good from evil. We know right from wrong. We have a certain set of values about what honesty is, integrity is, truthfulness is. We have a sense of those things. And they're at the core and the center of who we are as a human being. Those values and principles actually have a direct bearing on our feelings and our emotions. That's why we get up when we get upset when we see something that's wrong. It's the value of what we know to be wrong that triggers our emotion. So our values and our principles give guidance to our feelings and our emotions. Our feelings and our emotions are then things that trigger and cause the way that we think and give us opinions, our beliefs and our opinions. And then those beliefs and opinions actually formulate the way we behave, our actions. Now, what's important, when all of those are in complete alignment, when our core values, our feelings, our beliefs and opinions, and our behavior are in complete alignment, that's called personal integrity. Now, all those things must be in place for us to make any change in our life. And this is why we're talking about how is it that you actually get someone to change what they are currently doing. You have to address all of these to make that happen. We tend to come in and we got both guns blazing and we want to tell people why it's a beautiful thing to make a change and they got to do it. And they got to join the organization and you can have this, this, and this. And we come in with all of that and it's all true. And we speak the truth and we know answers and we know solutions, but we never ask any questions about these. Asking questions about these allows the person to buy into what we're saying. That's why I said last time, we need to ask enough questions and listen 80% of the time, and then spend 20% of the time showing an example of how we can fill every one of these for the person we're talking to. So I went ahead and I put together in your workbook, here are some questions that actually guide us through this sequence. You can add your own once you understand the concept, because I've given you 100 or so questions that you can modify in the workbook. But you want to start out with a simple question, like, what are some of the principles you were taught as a youngster? Now you could say, if you're recruiting them, into the business, you could say business principles, work ethic principles. You could talk about financial principles if you're trying to recruit them as a financial client. In other words, how do they value their financial situation? How do they value money? You could ask them what the purpose of their work is. What are they trying to accomplish with their work? Use the word purpose as an example, because if they can express to you the reason they go to work, you start now to get into values and emotions about the workplace and the way you fit your world so they can come into their world. Remember, we're not trying to fit their world into ours. We're trying to fit our world into theirs. That's a big understanding. We're the ones doing the lifting. We're trying to make certain we get inside their universe. So you could ask somebody about the purpose of their current job. Why do you go to work every day? And then you can respond at some point in time about the purpose that you have in actually helping other people and improving lifestyles and creating generational wealth and making certain people live their life by choice and not by chance. You can now talk about the values that drive you in the business. And if they have the same values, you can see that it now fits inside of the question you just asked, but let them talk about it first. What financial principles did you teach your children? What are the 3 principles or values that guide your financial decisions? Remember, we're talking about this. We're starting right here because we're going to end up out here with behavior. That's where we want to end up. So we're going to walk our way through this whole process. Okay, now it has to do with, tell me about your current job and how it brings fulfillment into your life. Because we know we can bring fulfillment into their life because we've witnessed it ourselves. We've lived through it. You're going to find out if that's even a value they have by asking a question like that. What is the status of your wealth? How does it affect your mental and physical health? Where you are today. Then you start to describe your feelings about your current financial stability. Now we're into actual feelings and emotions. What is your opinion about Social Security sustainability? Now we're talking about beliefs and opinions. What is your opinion about stability? What is your opinion about life insurance and the role it plays in wealth management? Tell me what you believe. I need to know all of these things about you before I can ever suggest you change your behavior. I want you to nod your head if this is making sense so far. Very good. So, what are your opinions about 401k contributions and retirement plans? That's the way they think. Remember, we're getting into behavior. What behavior do you think it will take to live your life by choice and not by chance? Ask the question. Don't tell them what the answer is. Make them respond to it. Be curious enough to make that happen. What's your greatest strength when it comes to financial management? It has to do with their behavior. What's your greatest weakness when dealing with financial matters? Find those things out. So you're working yourself from the center of this behavioral model all the way out to the behavior side. That's when you can start to offer alternatives inside of their life's model. You can respond according to the answers they've given you. That's how you relate and get them to change behavior. I'll tell you where I learned this, I can tell you right now, that model has always been in my mind, but where it came into practice in my early days when I was a high school basketball coach, I thought I could walk in and bark at everybody and tell them everything that we're going to do, exactly what I wanted everybody to do, until I find out everybody couldn't do exactly what I thought they should be doing. So instead of telling a story one time, instead of treating them as a team, in order to make it work, I had to treat them as individuals. I had to find out their skill sets, what they thought, where their heart was, where their head was. I had to treat each of them as an individual. And then I could bring them together as a team. But I had to know all the moving parts, what tripped their trigger, because I was trying to change their behavior from the way they played the year before I got there to the way I wanted them to play now. One at a time. That's not a group activity. And that's what this model is built on. Let's talk about a financial client, if you will. You're talking with somebody about their family wealth. And I'll promise you, a lot of the conversation is about the ROI, meaning we're going to create wealth by investing. I'm here to tell you, that's the one you have the least control over. And it is not the predictor of wealth. Actually, creating family wealth takes a lot of other behaviors. The investing part is the one where you have the least influence and the one that actually has the least leverage to create enormous wealth. Now, I can tell you this, just the act of starting savings at an earlier age has more effect on family wealth than the return on the investment does. Why? The rule of 72. That's why. Starting at an early age. So there has to be a discussion that you need to have. That's what these boxes are for. What discussions do you think you ought to have? What are the topics? Are we talking possibility here about a matching 401k, starting it as soon as possible? Are we talking about a typical savings account? Are we talking about some type of additional income, a part-time job? Are we talking about spousal working? Are we talking about expense management? Are we going to talk about managing your debts the right way? What are the topics? Remember, I told you solve problems. So I want to know what are the conversations that you think you ought to have. I left this blank so you can fill it in. You need to have a sequence of topics that you ultimately want to broach, because you know for a fact that a combination of all of these is going to contribute to family wealth more than this does. Once you identify a topic over here, Let's make this first one expense management. Managing your expenses of your current income. I want you to then and down here, I want you to, this is for box number 1. I want you to write the best possible question you could ask to begin this topic of conversation. What is your opening question? Something as simple as, can you tell me today the steps you go through to make certain you are managing your expenses the best way possible? Let them talk. Find out what they're currently doing. If this next one up here has to do with debt management, would you please share with me exactly what you do to manage your credit card debt, your automobile loans, your home mortgage? Let them talk about managing debt. Come up with your own questions. You need to know what topics you're going to broach and what questions you're going to ask. Now, the quality of our relationships, the effectiveness of our advice is directly correlated to the breadth and depth of our curiosity. Here's an entire spectrum of things you could talk about. You could have conversations about any of these elements. I've given you a series of questions that allows you to ask questions about those particular topics. I'm not suggesting you use them. I don't want you to use this on model verbatim, but there's an example of some. Now, I want to talk with you about the questioning process and why it becomes so critical. How you can frame questions to get the answers you need to have before you ever open your mouth to make recommendations. Remember, we're trying to do 2 things. Be curious about the relationship and to be curious about the decisions that we're going to make to help them. We're going to give them advice and counsel. We're going to do it. That means we have to ask enough questions and have enough information to say and to advise and give counsel and share our wisdom the right way. So, this Chinese proverb I've always liked, you can tell whether a man is clever by his answers, but you can tell he is wise by his questions. You can ask the wrong question and get the right answer, but you have not advanced the conversation. You must ask the right questions. And I want them to be, as you said here, uniquely yours. I want you to ask questions that reveal the emotional impact of the absence of wealth. Find out how they feel about not having their problem solved. Get emotions into the conversation. Then ask them how they get the emotional impact of the presence of wealth. How would you feel if? You need to ask questions that lead to serious client or business partner insights. That goes back to that original model I showed you about understanding their values, beliefs, opinions, and behaviors. Your questions must demonstrate the breadth and depth of your concern. You ought to be asking them questions that you've probably never been asked before. You need to complete your diagnosis. That's why questioning is so important. I've given you hundreds of questions in the rest of this workbook. Hundreds of questions. I'm not telling you they're questions that you must use verbatim. I want them to be a starting point for you to build your own set of questions. You must own your set of questions. Remember, I told you one of the objectives was to make certain that you had your own set of questions that you felt comfortable with. I just want you to make certain that they're driven by sincere curiosity and genuine concern. Your questions are not designed to sell a product to somebody. Those are the worst questions ever because they put you in the center of the equation. The best questions are ones that put the prospect in the center of the equation. So build them. The other thing, I want you to write them down. I want you to constantly revise them. I want you to become a student of curiosity. I want you to become a student of the questioning process. I want you to be a student of the listening process. I want you to be a student of the note-taking process, where you are writing things down as they speak to you. I want you to be a master of getting them to tell you stories about themselves. I want you to be the master of allowing them to be in the spotlight. And I want you to be a master of uncovering their values, their opinions, their beliefs, and their current behavior. Without knowing those things, it's very difficult for you to enter their life. It's very difficult for you to make recommendations that are spot on. We've all been in a position to where we thought we had the answers, and the first thing we wanted to do was let everybody know we got their answers when we don't even know what their problem is. We don't even know. We haven't asked enough questions to know whether or not they've even got it taken care of. So that's why the 80-20 rule is important. That curiosity quotient should be 80-20. Here's a series of questions that you can modify, but I want to show you a different technique. It's done by making a statement and then asking a question. And you can do that with any of these that are up here. But I like this one. What are their concerns right now that keep you up at night? You could preface that question by saying, I'm always concerned about the people I talk to having so many concerns that bother them emotionally that they lose sleep over it. What are the concerns right now you have that keep you up at night? So that's what these examples are on this page. You actually make a statement and then you ask a question. You actually stage in the question. It's a technique that I like because it prepares them for an answer. Strictly by making a statement first. Now, this is a technique for letting people know something about yourself. whatever you would like them to know about you. The way to get that to happen is to let them respond to a question first. Here's an example. I think somewhere in the conversation with someone, when you have your first appointment, maybe your second appointment, I think it's important that they understand your purpose for being in the business. Why are you doing what you're doing? As a matter of fact, I was going to tell David, I've got another exercise I'm going to be sending you, David, about these elements that are on this page right now. So in order to talk about purpose, you would stage in the question by saying, can you tell me the purpose for all of your hard work and the wealth that you're trying to accumulate? Why are you doing this? I think purpose is a very, very important motivator. That's what you say up front. I think purpose is a great motivator. Can you tell me the purpose of what you're currently doing? Let them answer the question. You can then counter that by just simply saying, I think purpose is so important. It becomes a driving mechanism in my life. I get up every day wanting to help other people become financially independent. That gets my heart and my head in sync. Now you got the chance to talk about what you believe that word means. So any of those things, David, quit drawing on my paper there, would you? I'm not sure how that happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's drawing on that.
Somebody's drawing on it. So we're having a cyber attack.
Yeah.
So the same thing is true about the exceptional client experience if they're an advisor and an investor. What things that go on in your life do you want them to appreciate? That's all that's for. So I have the same thing true about investments, etc. Those are all questions that you can allude to. Start the conversation by asking them questions about that. The third and the last part here is simple. I want each of you to be able to write down and come up with at least 3 stories of how your exceptional advice and counsel help solve the problems or make somebody feel good. You all have examples of it. I want you to pick 3 and keep this in mind. The story must reveal the problems that you solved and how the end user felt about it when it happened. That's the story. Well, you know, I was working with John and Mary. They had a similar circumstance as you did. They hadn't been able to put enough money away. They had 3 kids that were still in grade school. We had to start thinking about educational planning. We had to start to think about their own retirement to some degree. And here's exactly how we solved that problem. We paid off on their current debt. We started to take that money, we put it in a savings account. And John had never participated in this 401k before. And he then started to do that. I can't tell you how happy they were once they saw, after 6 months, how much money they'd saved. Now that's a story. I want you to come up with 3 stories on how you solve problems and how you made people feel good. David, I know we're up on the hour. I can't hear you, David.
No. Yeah, you can hear me now, right? Yeah. So, hey, but if you've got a little more, or maybe something else you want to share, then do it.
By the way, the last time we're together, did I share with you the Lexus story?
Yes, the Lexus story.
All right,
For Maryland.
I have a
Yeah.
different one that it shows the power of curiosity. I'm working for Shearson Lehman Brothers on Wall Street in the 80s. And I'm giving a presentation at Walnut Creek, California, just outside of San Francisco. And I'm staying in this hotel, and it's actually across the street from a Nordstrom store. And I usually take my workout gear with me, and I like to play basketball back then when I was capable. So I got my basketball gear on. I actually found a street game, played a little street ball. It was all sweaty. Came back, got to my room, and noticed I didn't have what I consider to be a shirt that was laundered well enough to wear the next day. So I go across the street to the Nordstrom store, and I go in the men's department. And I'm all sweaty, and I mean, I have no idea what I smelled like, but I just got through playing basketball. I walk up, and this young lady walks in. She says, "Welcome to Nordstrom. My name is Mary. How can I help you?" I said, "Oh, look, I just need to get a shirt. I got a presentation I'm giving tomorrow." She says, "What size is that?" I said, 15 and a half, 35. Now, she said, do you have any concern about the shirts that you are currently owning? Do you have things that bother you at all? Or any concerns? I said, yeah, which has always been a concern of mine, by the way. But she asked me this question. I said, my collars get frayed here before my shirt wears out. The collar frays, and I get cotton shirts. She says, let me measure your neck. She measures my neck. And I listen, I've always been proud of wearing 15 and a half, 35, because that means I weighed about 175 back then, which I thought was great. But apparently didn't weigh 175 anymore. She said, I think a 16 would be better than a 15 and a half. And I said, I've always worn 15 and a half. She says, well, the reason your shirt frays around the collar is because your shirt is too tight, and the whiskers on your chin actually make it fray. She said you should be wearing a 16. And she did that in such a way that she didn't make me feel bad. And I said, really? I said, that makes all the sense in the world. She says, I want you to try this. If you don't like it and it doesn't fit, you can always return it. That's our policy. So she starts to measure it. And so she takes a measurement, and she says, I want you to try this shirt on. I said, have you looked at me? I'm sweating. I don't think I should try that shirt on. Oh, she said, it's no problem whatsoever. Please try it on. So I tried it on, and it fit very comfortably. And then she says something along the line, Do you think you have the, any color preference? I said, well, I've always worn white. She said, with your blue eyes, you'd look great in a blue shirt. So I said, oh, I don't know. She said, try this one on. She unpins it, everything, unwraps it. She says, look in the mirror. She says, can you see how that looks good? I said, yeah, I like it. She said, look at this tie. She brings a tie over. She holds it up in front of me. She says, you see how the blue in this tie and the blue in this shirt really make your eyes pop? And I'm going, yeah, of course I'm going to say, oh yeah, exactly. So I walked in, I wanted one shirt for the presentation the next day. I just wanted one shirt. Her curiosity was so deep, and the questions that she asked were so profound. I walked out with 3 shirts, 3 new ties, a pair of slacks, and a new belt. I went in to buy a single shirt. So I said, can I talk to your supervisor? Because I saw what was happening. I saw her questioning process. I saw the way that she was playing into my emotional decision-making capability. And she was right on every matter. I never wore 15 and a half cents. She was exactly right. So I asked her to speak to her supervisor, and she handed me a business card from the president of the company. And I forget right now what his first name is, but it was Nordstrom. I think it might have been Michael. I'm not sure. It was a business card. She said, if you like the service, why don't you give him a call? The president of the company. And I said, okay, thanks. And I put it in my pocket. So I get back to New York. I get a phone call from her because I gave her my data. She said, I just wanted to know if you were pleased with the shirt you wore the next day and how you like what you purchased. I said, I love everything. The ties are great, whatever. She said, I wish you'd tell Mr. Nordstrom that. She said, I gave you the card. So I called her bluff. There is an 800 number on the card. I dialed it. It was a direct line to the president of Nordstrom. His secretary answers. Which surprised me. She said, Mr. Nordstrom's office. I went blank for a minute. I said, well, she says, can I help you? I said, well, I guess I want to talk to Mr. Nordstrom. And she said, well, he's busy right now. I have him call you back. So I figured the story's over. So about 20 minutes later, my executive assistant comes to the door and knocks on my door and says, there's a Mr. Nordstrom on the phone for you. I said, you gotta be kidding me. I answered the phone. It was the president of the company. He said, I understand you were pleased with your service from Mary in Walnut Creek. I said, I was. He said, oh, we love her. She's a wonderful lady. He says, how are you enjoying your shirt? The president of the company. I said, it's best shirt I ever owned. He says, why don't we send you 6 more? His comment to me is, why don't we send you 6 more shirts? I said, I think that's a good idea. So they sent me 6 more shirts. My point in this story is I want him to get a single shirt. This lady demonstrated a genuine concern about the way I look when I dress up, about the size of shirt that I wear. She asked me probably 50 different questions during the process. And then the leader of the organization, when I said earlier about getting and keeping clients, the president of the organization, Bruce, that was his name. It just came to me. Bruce Norton just came to me. And, when the head of the organization calls you back, you know that's all part of the way they think about the business. They construct it in a way where the questioning process, the genuine concern, the curiosity drives everything. I want you to think in those terms as we go forward. And I'll leave you with this message. And Ed, David have heard me say this before when I was there. You all get a chance every single day to do something that a lot of people in this world never get to do. You get to actually meet new people every single day with the knowledge that you can actually change the direction of their life. You have the wherewithal, the knowledge, the skills, the resources, the backing, the tools to either change them just financially as a financial client, or have them join your team and learn how to grow. And you get up every single day and you have that going on in your life. It's not like you have to get up and go to the steel mill and pour molten steel into some container. It's not like you have to get up and work on an assembly line. It's not like you have to get up and dig ditches. Now, you may have done all those things in your past life, but now you get a chance to actually meet and greet another human being. Start a relationship by being so curious that you find out everything you can about that person. And then you have the ability to start them into dialogue that eventually uncovers their values, their emotions, their beliefs, and their current behavior. So you can have an effect on all 4 of those. You just get a chance to help another human being. My own personal purpose statement ever since I've been in the financial service business since 1978 has always been to grow and protect American wealth, one financial advisor at a time. That's always been what I've ever been. That's what drives me every day. I start at the very bottom and I reverse engineer it up. I start with the client and I think about what the client's problems are and how to make a client feel good. And I build programs that cause those to happen. Because I know the end result. There'll be a financial advisor who enters their life, who changes their life, who makes their life better. And if things really work out, they become their coach. They actually help them do the same exact thing. And that is really, really significant. You have an opportunity to help so many people. So in our last meeting, I told you, and it'll always be true, I still do it today. I've got 3 people I need to meet today. I will. I'll meet 3 new people today. Somewhere, somehow. I do it every day. Grocery store, the gym where I work out. I go to Lowe's a lot because I'm building stuff for my granddaughters. And I do. On calls like this, I'll meet somebody new. Somebody will speak up. Somebody will send me an email. I'll get to know somebody that way. And by the way, I've given you my email in the past. But it's Steve. It's very simple. It's my name. It's Steve at stevebarger.com. STEVE at STEVEBARGER.com. Steve at stevebarger.com. And I'm willing to meet somebody new just on this call. Hopefully that'll happen. But you should be thankful that you have the knowledge that you have and the skills that you have, the abilities that you have, because you know you can help another person improve their life. I want you to use some of the models I showed you today to make that happen. I want you to always, always be curious. Always. And ask questions and listen to learn. Do not listen to respond. Listen to learn and ask questions. 80% of the time, and talk 20% of the time. David, if you want, I'll take any questions if you have enough time.
Yeah, so let's do this. By the way, guys, we have posted, Stephanie, thank you for doing that. The link to the workbook is under chat, if you would like that. We also send it out to every RVP. And so anyway, but so you can do that. Steve, I was just listening as I'm looking here at, page 12, how valuable the questions, page 17, how you make the statement, you make a statement, then you ask a question. And then I love the, coming up with the 3 stories or the stories and sharing those stories. Hey, here's what I've been able to do before. Let me just tell you a similar situation that I've been able to do. Very powerful info. But the thing that I thought about, it's not like Rome wasn't built overnight. What you do is you go through here and everybody's different. And so you go through these questions, and the ones that kind of jump out at you said, hey, look, I don't know, man, that really fits my personality. And you build it as you go. You start with asking one more question, then add another question to it. As you go, you internalize it and you gradually do that. Steve, I would think that would be a good way to do, but then also get with your trainer, get with your RVP, and y'all kind of brainstorm on some of these and help get that personalized for you. I love the thing of asking the question to someone and then sit there taking notes, because when you're taking those notes, that lets them know, man, this guy, this gal, they're very serious about that. And I think the whole thing of, listening 80% of the time, it just goes against, human nature, because you just feel like, man, I just need to be saying something all the time if I'm out there marketing and serving people. But man, what a powerful message, Steve. You may want to throw in anything you want to there.
Yeah. So you highlighted, I think, the really important things. I'll also give everyone my cell phone number is 480. That's an Arizona area code. We used to live there, but we live in Birmingham now. 480-225-8783. 480-225-8783. And I want to thank all of you for taking this Saturday. We had, I think, 220 people on here at one time. I find that quite amazing. I don't know of any other company in the world who could hold a meeting for an hour on Saturday morning and have 220 people show up. I don't know of any company on the face of the planet where that would happen. And that's a tribute to leadership. It's an absolute tribute to leadership. It's really quite amazing. And I congratulate all of you for doing that. That dedication tells me that we're talking with serious players here.
Yeah, you are. And Steve, guys, we're going to stay on too. Any of you want to put anything in chat? I know many of you are already doing that. Any thank yous to Steve, you can do that. But listen, before we leave, I do have just a couple of very important things here. First of all, this coming Friday, we had a field advisory council meeting with Glenn Williams this week. And this coming Friday, the July locker room is open to the whole company. It's going to be at 11 a.m. Central Time, naturally 12 Eastern, for 1 hour. But man, there's some things that are happening in the company, some updates that are going to be very important. But man, I mean, the company is just, Glenn, one of the things that he talked about, I mean, and I'm sure I know he's going to talk about it this Friday, is that, and looking at our numbers, naturally we've got people, different business models. Some people are, develop more on the client side. Others want to do more building distribution. But, one of the things that he talked about, and he sat down for several hours and just really broke out the legal pad and said, really, and just thinking about it, if a person builds 30 licensed reps in their company, they're going to be an RVP. And if they have 30 licensed reps in their business, they're going to be an RVP and they're going to make a 6-figure income. If they've got 30 now, they're going to be making 6-figure income. If they add another 30 to it, is another 6-figure in income. And I thought the simplicity of that, because the company, man, we are by next June, man, and it's an aggressive goal to have 150,000 licensed reps by next summer. And so I know that we want to buy in that. Well, we're already buying into that as a hierarchy, but I know that that's going to be, we're going to do that. And I think we all need to, as I know on this call, we've got RVPs, but we've got future RVPs, which means that they want to be there too, right? And really that's our goal, is to help you build your company within a company. And I know the good folks like Ed Randall's hierarchy feel the same way. One thing I did want to mention, Mike, Tyler, I don't know if you can share this screen, this on the July 24th, Mike is going to host a big event. And the goal is, and it's kind of the post-pandemic builder school. We had our first base shop event 2 weeks ago, was incredible. Lawrence and Stephanie Lindsay, Jill and I, we did it up here in Jackson and at our office, and it felt so good. Actually, people, we had a reception the night before, and we had an event the next morning, and people didn't want to leave. So especially our reception. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, but the post-pandemic event down at Southern Miss, I'm sorry, it's going to be at the Lake Terrace Convention Center. And I got, Mike is, when we started talking about this, said Mike's goal is 1,000 people at that event, 1,000 people at that event. We're going to have it all safe. We got plenty of room and all that, but where you can get the tickets there. And so that's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on that Saturday, July 24th. Okay, you can take that off, Tyler. By the way, Tyler, again, thank you for today. The other thing, the Run for the Sun, guys, man, that's going to be such a great trip. Ends in November. And how the company just added the Hawaii, the Maui Ritz-Carlton trip to this. And so what that did, that's another 300 couples. So now, if you weren't in standings for the Marco Island deal, well, you need to look again, right? So you can either go to the Marco Island or you can go to the Ritz-Carlton in Maui. But I've been to Hawaii a bunch, but let me tell you, there's something about Maui is my favorite island, and Ritz-Carlton's my favorite hotel. They got some competition, but when you combine Maui and the Ritz, that ain't a bad deal, right? And any company that any trip the company takes us on is incredible. So hey, but listen, the last thing that I'll say is there's so many good things that are happening that are getting ready to happen. And Horace Adair, one of our VPs, Horace used to be a veterinarian, and he called me yesterday. He said, David, he said, man, I was looking at Primerica Online, and you're like one of the top in the company for our property and casualty insurance program. And he said, did you know that? And I said, I had no idea, which is crazy. For our secure program, property and casualty, I know that years ago when the company came up with it, everybody I ever quoted on that, it's hard to remember one that we didn't save them some money. I think the average saving is like $500 a year. And so anyway, but I started looking at it. I told Rose, I came back to the office, I said, pull that up. And I mean, like here's one personal production. I was number 7 in the company. There's a RVP, a top 10 producers in North America. I'm one of that for the base shop. Then I looked at with number 34 in the country year to date in the base shop. I was looking at just like I'm number 1 in our hierarchy with 42 cases in the last 12 months and 5,000 in income, from that. But the thing that hit me on that is, folks, man, we really need to focus on building distribution, right? Because when you think about it, just like on auto and homeowners, largest comparative quoting system with 30 plus top national insurers, all competing for people's business, average savings of $484 a year, and no license is required to refer in all 50 states. So, think about new people. And so whether it's that, the Vivient or the legal, the wheels and all that. And now think about what we've got. So property and casualty, now we've got a referral program on commercial insurance. The e-telequote transaction should close in July, which is going to open up that whole senior market. which I'm a member now, so I'll be getting my quote on that. You don't have to be licensed to do it. That's we'll be able to really open that up for this fall enrollment. And you think about all the seniors we have involved, Quicken Loans. Now, last month closed over 100 million in mortgages every month now. And we're in 12 states, getting ready to add more in the next 12 months. You're going to see, I think, over half the states in the country we'll be doing business in. Look at, I know in 1979, when I really got going, when I got my securities license, they said, David, you'll make an extra 10 to 15,000 a year in investments, right? And I thought, man, Lord, I mean, 40 years ago, that was a good little side gig of income. Well, now you get an investment license, you're going to make 50 to 100,000 a year out there serving people, taking care of people, the things that Steve's talked about today. But what we need to do is we need to build distribution, because as you build distribution, all these are little side businesses that we can help the consumer save money, do a better job with their finances. So I don't know what message is there for you, but to me, man, we just need to build. And we've got an engine here. What are we going to be like in 10 years? It's going to be unreal. I mean, now we're Fortune 1000. Where are we going to be in another 10? It's going to be incredible. By the way, the last thing I'll share is on LFIC, Leaders for Innovation and Change. Always have trouble saying that. We, David Harms, which is a big leader with the company, sent out he did let's see, week before last on Tuesday, did a 20-minute segment on getting licensed, getting people licensed on their insurance license and their investment license, the quickest way to go through that. And we sent that link out to all RVPs, okay? Jeffrey Patrick, how do I get to the LFIC? I tell you what, Jeffrey, if you will put, okay, if one of our folks would send him the link on how to get on LFIC Telegram, okay? And then I'll stay on and make sure, because I've got that too. But if Stephanie or somebody could do that, that'd be great. But guys, speaking of building distribution, man, we've got to get people licensed, good ratios, the fastest possible way. And I haven't watched the 20-minute video, but one of Mike Landrum's guys, Doug Lauderdale, great guy, told me about it, sent it to me because he cut out that 20-minute segment, and I sent it to Jill. Jill's just passed her SIE exam. She's taking her Series 6 exam on July 9th. So Jill's getting fully licensed for when something happens to me. But anyway, so yeah, so we got a lot happening. Hey guys, we got 1 week. I mean, next Thursday, we close out this month. And anyway, I see there's a lot of chat. So Steve, I'm going to leave this on here and I'll go through it too, to make sure that you're able to see everybody's response. Steve, do you have anything else to say before we close out? Or I don't know if Mike's on or anybody else.
Yeah, I would tell everyone really celebrate the 4th very hard, party, have a good time. We're the family. We've been cooped up way too long. So when July 4th gets here, have a really good 4th of July celebration. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the moment. And be thankful that we're living in this country. It's a beautiful place.
That's great. Okay, guys. Well, hey, man, hope everybody has a great weekend. Appreciate all of you jumping on, staying on, and let's roll. If we can help you, let us know. Again, I'll stay on a little bit and check the chat and make sure everybody get your questions answered. I'm sure Steve will probably do the same. So God bless y'all. Y'all have a great weekend. Thank you. Let's close out strong.
There are a lot of people on there, David.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll leave that up. So Steve, if you can hang around a minute, anybody else wants to get your info, that'd be great.
Steve, I'm going to go ahead and drop your email and your phone number into the chat as well.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Stephanie. Oh, Steve, a lot of comments, man.
I tell you, it's a real tribute to your leadership to have 200 plus people.
Well, that's
Quite remarkable.
Hierarchy leaders in our hierarchy. Just incredible leaders that are building their own company within a company, and so man, that's exciting for.
I like that backdrop that Steve Heck has on.
Steve Heck. Oh, you stumble. Yeah, okay. I see
that background he's got.
Yeah, Steve. He's out there in the desert. He lives in Phoenix, so his brain gets a little hot out there. But
have you gotten below 110 yet?
Let's see, Steve. Yeah, I think he. Hang on a second, Steve. I'm gonna unmute you, man. Hey, Steve, you can unmute yourself. Tell Steve what the weather's like out there. Can you hear me, Steve? He can't hear me. Oh. Okay, wait a minute.
You're on mute, Steve.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, that's me. Okay, now Steve, you can unmute.
Steve Barger, thank you so very, very much for everything that you do. And we just feel honored and blessed that you're back. We just appreciate all the knowledge and all the experience. And again, our prayers are with your health much more than anything else.
Oh, I'm in the best shape I've been in 30 years. I work out every day. I've learned to talk a new way, but everything is fine. Tell me, have you gotten under 110 yet during the day?
It's 108 right now, but we're headed to 116 on Monday and Tuesday of next week. Probably about 100.
I remember. I lived there a long time.
What part of Scottsdale?
We lived once on Sunnyside Drive in Scottsdale, and then we had a place at Desert Mountain, and then we had a place up in Prescott. And Prescott was a good 15 degrees cooler.
Yep.
Because the elevation.
Yeah, it's just exploding out here. You're talking almost 6 million people.
I know that. I think you're now like the sixth largest city in the United States.
Yeah, I think we just passed. I think we just passed San Diego as number 5 in the country.
Steve, could I ask you a question real quick, please? This is Lawrence Lindsay.
Sure.
If you had the best question and one question only to ask a new prospect or a prospect that you're introduced to, what would it be?
So if I meet somebody for the very first time, and I do this either on Zoom calls or in person, where I have enough time that they want, a good 15, 20 minutes. I always start with, and this is my idiosyncrasy, I'm not recommending it for anyone. I always start with, tell me about your life. I do. I want to know where they were born, where they went to school, what their first jobs were, when they got married, what they're currently doing. I just, you know, I'm not certain what your objective was or is when you meet someone. Asking someone what they do for a living, and when they tell you that, let's say they say, I'm in aluminum wholesale distribution. My next question would be something like, with the cost of metals going up, are you finding it more difficult to distribute your product? Because I'm in the moment of what they just told me, and I want to know more about the aluminum. I want to know if it's produced overseas. I always come back to what they've said, because when I am talking with someone for the very first time, and I've told people this for years, you never want to sit next to me on a cross-country flight, because you're going to be talking for 4.5 hours, and you'll never, I'll ask you questions until you tell me to shut up. I just want to know more and more things. The reason I do that is I am now in control. I control everything. I control the next question. I control where this is going to go. And that's why I've always thought they may know nothing about me whatsoever. I don't care at that point in time. I find out about them. Usually what happens is, can you see me? I get their phone number and email when I meet somebody, because I will tell them, you know what? I read an article the other day you're really going to like, or I listened to audiobooks. I've got about 50 audiobooks on my phone, and I give them one free. So one of the books I've read, listened to recently, that sometime we need to talk about as a group. One of the risks when it comes to helping people with their finances is longevity risk. That means living longer than you thought you were going to live. There's a great audio book called Living the 100-Year Life. And then I start talking about, if that comes up, I always start with statistics. I never say boo about what I do. I talk about information that will help them. Like I gave you stats about only 28% of nationwide 401k participants actually meet the employer's match. Scientists today say there's a person that's born today that will live to be 150 years old. They're alive today. They will live to be 150. So if you take Tyler and his 5 children under the age of 5, right? That all by itself blows my mind, to have 5 under the age of 5. But I can see, I just want to see Mike, the grandpa I am, be able to handle them all by himself with nobody around, just Mike taking care of them. So a question about longevity They say the first person to live to be 150 is alive today. Tyler's children, guaranteed, not having any accidents, will live to be 100. Guaranteed. If you look at the way medical advances are being made today, medical advances are growing exponentially, not arithmetically. They're not additive, they multiply geometrically. They're already growing body parts. So in the next 20 years, there'll be a child born. They'll take not just the DNA, they'll take some type of bone marrow. They'll build a locker. There'll be an actual locker where they can actually grow body parts for that person. So if they need a new heart, they won't get somebody else's heart. They'll actually grow a new heart for that person. This is not a fairy tale. So here's something, a discussion that has to take place inside your organizations with people who are young people, grandchildren, David's grandchildren, Mike's grandchildren, some of the people on here, they're young children. You better prepare them to live well beyond 100 because it's going to happen. Nobody is prepared to actually deal with what that means because we all have in mind there's a retirement age of 65. Now, we all kind of know that that's probably going to get raised up in the 70s. I tell you, for some of the smaller children today, retirement won't happen until they're 80, 85 years old, which means midlife, they're going to have to go back to school because of all the changes that are so rapid that their skill set and knowledge base will become outmoded. And when they're 55, they're going to enter 60, they're going to have to go back to school and relearn something new. All that has to do with one topic, longevity. Of 100 different topics you could talk about, that's just one topic.
Wow.
Longevity
Hey,
is
Steve,
something
you know,
really to be
that's,
prepared.
can you hear me, Steve?
Yeah, what'd you say?
Yeah, you know, that, hey, what was it? You said Living the 100-Year Life is the name of that book?
Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, Dave and I will send you a text with a, do you have Audible on your phone?
Yeah.
I'll send you a free copy of the book and you can pass it on, either
Okay.
in hard copy or in
Hey, you know what's amazing? There's still 58 people on here, and the what you're sharing there, you know, what a great thing to talk to people about, longevity, right? But I mean, like you said, man, you know, if people think they're gonna, yeah, they got to be prepared to live that 100-year life, 100, and like you said,
listen, there's no doubt about it.
wow, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, if you'll send that to me, Living the 100-Year Life, that's good. Okay, cool.
Excuse my cough. Sorry.
Oh, that's no problem.
So, there are discussions of topics, and you know, David, I sent you an email last week. I introducing you to Jamie Greenfield about the HSAs.
Right.
And it's something I want you and I and Jamie to talk about because HSAs are going to start to play more of an important role in preparing for retirement. 80% of all human beings are overinsured from a health perspective because they don't have pre-existing conditions. They should be paying the higher deductible, the lower premium. Their premium actually offsets most of the deductible anyway. And they're able to now have HSA accounts. And an HSA savings account is triple tax free. It's better than a 401k. It needs to be included in the retirement conversation. So I got her on there. And we're gonna get together with you so you can go present it to your committee.
Yeah, I am. And you know, I've been gone. I've been on the road the last week, so I just got it in. I have it in my notes now. I'll get with you the first of the week. Hey, you know, people are saying they're enjoying the after party here, so they can't stop listening. So
Well, you tell me when to stop talking.
yeah, well, just if anybody else has any comments, but yeah, that's great, Steve. That you know, the whole getting people to talk about, you know, tell me your story. Tell me, you know, what a great. I mean, hey, Joe. Hey man, nice to meet you. I know you're from here. Tell me your story. And then just drill down as they start talking.
Yeah. And the four most important words we can never repeat. Please tell me more.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, I got a question, and it's on the recruiting end of things. Could you share with me and with everybody else why you feel most people are afraid of the recruiting process of what we do here, building a team of people?
Yeah. So, remember in the entire spectrum of what you bring to the table, getting involved with some financial services as a provider and getting licensed is like the chicken versus the pig commitment, because giving advice is like the chicken laying an egg all the time and you can get away with that. But once you've committed and quit your job, you're not the pig. You're giving your whole life. So the commitments are different between those two things. And I do believe, and I predicted this, but I think it's okay. There are people who just want to help other people by providing financial services. They just want to be an individual producer because they can make some serious money doing that, more money than they made before. That's fine. That's fine. The approach I would take with them, the ones who are just producing, is that they make great coaches. But you got to have people to coach. So I want you to build a team so you can coach them and then convert the salespeople into being better coaches and approach it from that perspective. And David knows I'm always honest about everything. So the corporate goal can be, we need to go wider. We need to have more people. And I agree with that. That does not necessarily mean that an individual who's making, you know, I know some people making, that I've talked with, making 150 grand a year and they're just producing. Well, one of the beautiful parts about the company is you can do that. Now, if you want the leverage in your life, my discussions would be about the way to actually create wealth is equity. And the way to, you can do that by owning stock, but you are in essence creating equity in your company by recruiting, because it's perpetual income. So if you approach someone and say, at the end of the day, everybody who is wealthy primarily has gotten their wealth through the equity ownership of some company. They got stock options, etc. If you want more stock options, and I'm talking about your own personal company, Steve's company, then those options become the human beings that you put on your team. Those become stock options. And you can, the longer the option is there, the more valuable it gets. So I would equate it back to building a business of equity and ownership. I would never play it back against the mothership. Remember, I wrote the book, It's Nobody's Business But Yours. It's been my mantra forever. This is not about Primerica. This is about you. So if you got people that are just producing and you want to influence them to be able to leverage themselves and have the security of equity ownership, then position them as a coach, build yourself a team that you can coach, and then build up equity in your own company. And every time you add somebody, you've added more equity into your company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good. Cool.
Hey, Steve, did you say you wrote a book? I'm sorry, that was the only question I've had. I've made like 12 pages of notes. Did you write a book?
Oh, no, I've had publishers, especially in the last 3 years, on my butt about that. I wrote a program that was the basis for me coming to Primerica called It's Nobody's Business But Yours. I actually wrote that program when I was on Wall Street. And that's why most of the top end producers on Wall Street today that were in Shearson Smith Barney are graduates of that program, because they treat the business like it was their own. They don't think that they're a broker for a company. They think they run their own financial practice. That mindset is really, really important. It's critical to think that way, because you then accept the responsibility for everything. If you're just a salesman, then you can blame other people when the product goes bad. But if you actually say you own the company and you give advice and it was the wrong advice, that's on you. So you take on the responsibility of giving advice and counsel. We take on the responsibility for mistakes also. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't. They'd rather be a salesman and blame somebody else if something goes wrong. And I say, when you enter the world as a legitimate financial advisor or a legitimate business builder, you accept responsibility for everything that happens. You don't blame anybody else. You don't turn around and say, "Oh, Primerica did this," or "they didn't do this." No, I don't want to hear that. Only thing that makes any difference is you made a decision to do this. You made the wrong decision. That's it's nobody's business but yours. And that's the way it should always be. It should always be that way. I had that conversation with some of my friends who are not even in financial services, but are selling something. They're like a couple of wholesalers now. Guy who sells steel. that I work out with, I've coached him into thinking it's his business. And he should approach it that way. Because he always thought he worked for one of the Bessemer Steel. And I say, you're actually working for yourself because you're creating relationships yourself. You're the one who's going out and finding a business. You're the one they're going to call when something goes wrong. If a shipment doesn't show up, then the same thing to a guy who runs as a software company that tracks supply chain management for major shipments worldwide. The model of it's nobody's business but yours actually fits any business model if you give advice and counsel. If you actually are giving somebody advice and counsel.
Hey, that's really good. You know, it's called, you know, getting people to take ownership.
Oh, and that's one of the most beautiful parts about your model, David. And you should encourage it. I've got another thing I'm going to be sending you, David, on how to start the baseline of your reputation, how to create the baseline of your reputation. I'm going to send that to you and you can look at it.
Yeah, okay. And then what we'll do, Stevie, is maybe some of these things we've been talking about, or maybe a kind of foundation on, you know, everything from the longevity to, you know, what we've kind of the after party here, the things that we're talking about, taking ownership of your business. No, it's no one's business but your own. And then, would you say starting the baseline of your reputation?
Yeah, so hang on just a minute. Turn turn the control of the screen over to me. I want to show you something.
I think you do have control. Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
I built this for a company called Lexmark Capital, which is a place here in town. Here, this is the actual model it takes to get the behavior we're looking for. So let me walk you through this. The green triangles are the foundation for your personal reputation. They determine your character and your behavior. So it has to do with your purpose. Why are you in the business? The fundamental principles that guide your behavior, the beliefs you have about the industry itself, the expertise that you bring to the table, and your experiences. Those all form your character and your behavior. When those are defined, you now have the ability to remember. I told you there's only two things that we do. We solve somebody's problems and we make them feel good. That's it. That's the entire spectrum of any business. So once we take these baseline, we actually create a client service model, that's how we're going to make people feel. Then we build a wealth management model, and that's how we're going to solve their problems. Once those two are put together and they're designed, I know how I'm going to solve your problems, and I know how I'm going to make you feel good. Now I have the license to create my own curiosity and my questions that I'm going to ask before I ever give you advice and counsel. Because the ultimate goal is up here. That's what we want to do on a daily basis. But I have to have some foundation to build this, to be able to ask these questions. So I'm going to send you, David, a copy of a workbook that covers these bottom parts to start with. How do you actually define your reputation? What does it look like?
Yeah,
So this entire model right here, all we're trying to do is to get to the top. I want to give people wise advice and counsel. That's my own entire goal. Well, I need to reverse engineer that. So that's my objective, to give wisdom to people. I've got to start with all of these things. I need to then build this model, and then ask the relevant questions that it takes to make certain my client understands both of these models so I can make them feel good, solve their problems. Those are the questions. Now my curiosity kicks in, and then I can give wise advice and counsel. Does that make sense?
yeah, that's good. Excellent. So, okay, Steve. Well, hey, man, great day, buddy. I appreciate you staying on for the after party. I think I can tell people really enjoyed that. So, um, but anyway, guys, hey, so Steve, you and I'll talk next week. But we'd love you to tell Marilyn we said hello, and then all the rest of you, thanks for staying on, and let's go build this thing.
Everybody enjoy the 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. God bless
Thank you, David. You're a good leader.
you. Appreciate you, brother. See you. Bye.